Welcome to the DoingCXRight show. I'm Stacy Sherman here live in Orlando with Vanessa and Craig, and I'm so excited to share an important topic with you, something that people don't think enough about. And so Vanessa, let me start with, who are you? What do you do for a living?
I'm Vanessa LaBosse. Thank you for having us on the show. I'm the co-founder and COO of 360 Direct Access. We are essentially a contact center solution that bridges the communication gaps that businesses currently have trying to reach deaf and hard of hearing customers. Oftentimes those communication gaps are either not even known or overlooked, and we fill them, and I'm excited to be here. My co-founder, Craig, is deaf, so if you're on the audio version, he'll be using a sign language interpreter that will voice everything that he signs.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Craig Radford. I am the CEO for 360 Direct Access. I founded this company about 3.5 years ago, trying to solve my own problem. I have deaf children, deaf family members. And so really I was trying to change the approach on how deaf people can communicate through customer service. I want to make sure that we're doing CX the right way, and that's the end goal.
Well, that is why we are here, because I don't think enough people realize that you need to design experiences for people that hear differently, that see differently. Not enough. Would you say that's true?
100%. Oftentimes we're so focused on the larger consumer group that are out there, and we're focusing on ways to do calls faster and smarter and more efficient and use technology. But these smaller groups, which really represent a lot more than you think, are being neglected, overlooked, or not really brought into the picture. And what we've realized is it's not a one or the other scenario. You literally can serve all of your groups if you just add in a little bit more of the people in the community, and if you also bring in technology that can do hybrid roles.
So I did want to just add that a lot of companies think that they are already providing accessibility solutions. They don't realize that the chat feature is not enough. They still use a TTY. Well, that's been out of style for 20 years. Deaf people don't use that. And they don't realize that ASL is not a visual form, ASL is a visual language and not English. So English is really a secondary language for them. So you really have to take a step back and look at the deaf and hard of hearing community and provide that accessibility. And so people think they have it, but they really don't. So as we go in this dialogue, I will kind of explain on how this impacts me, how this impacts my family members and my children. I say that, being deaf is a full-time job, and I don't want it to be a full-time job. It should not be. It should be simple. It should be equivalent like everybody else. And so I'm trying to solve that problem.
Being deaf is a full-time job. Let that sink in for a second, because I don't think we have appreciation. We collectively in the world have enough appreciation of what that means and what it's like in your shoes. But that's also the purpose of doing CX right, is to be intentional. And so let me start a little back in time. How did this experience and what you want people to know, I believe there's a story that you have.
I do, yes. So this is why we founded the company. I remember about 3.5 years ago, I was at an airport in Phoenix. And we just got back from the Deaf Olympics. And I was on the coaching staff for the Deaf Olympics, and we won a gold medal. And so we're in the airport, and we were trying to change our flight. And I saw all these hearing people running around on their cell phones, trying to change and modify their flights. And I was like, okay, so I was trying to figure out, maybe I probably should call the airline. And so I called through an interpreter. I was on hold with that, trying to get an interpreter for 45 minutes. And then I had to wait another 45 minutes for the customer service rep. And that interpreter made a mistake and said the wrong information, and I was booked on the wrong flight. So there has to be a better way. How can hearing people call directly to people in their own native language, and deaf people have to rely on a third party? So I was like, I need to have a direct solution. Fill it with staff, with ASL users, and provide that experience. I want to solve my own problem, so that's why I established 360 Direct Access. And in doing this, I've seen a lot of success. So I'm really excited that we're bringing this to show the world, to show them that this is the right way to do it.
How did that feel, being on the wrong plane? Like, I can't imagine.
Don't get me started there. Honestly, that was a crazy experience because I ended up having to go to the front counter and I said, hey, this is not the right one. And the woman, of course, was like a deer in headlights, and she never communicated with a deaf person before. So I really had to resort to pen and paper and write back and forth and having them help me through that process, through a paper and pen process. So that was a pain. And finally, I was able to modify that and get it on the right flight.
Yeah, finally. I mean, I think we're 2.5 hours into this story, and I'm frustrated when I'm told on the airline I have a 12-minute wait time. I'm like, call me back. Just, let me know when you can do it. And when Craig talks about pen and paper, he mentioned briefly that English is a completely separate language from American Sign Language. So even if you think about England, they speak English, but they have a completely different sign language. So it's not universal, it's not based on English. There's just a lot of misconceptions that me coming into this world had to learn to realize why the customer experiences go so wrong so frequently.
So, okay, you created this company. What exactly does it do? It's technology based. Tell me more.
So again, as I mentioned, I've been in telecommunication for over 25 years, and the TTY was normal back then. And then they came up with a video phone in about 2002, 2001 era, where a deaf person is puts it and hooks it up to a TV, and they see the interpreter on a screen face to face, and then they are able to dial the number for the hearing person, which the interpreter calls the hearing person. The interpreter interprets between the deaf and the hearing caller. So in that experience, I've seen the technology and seeing the different features and all of the developments that are needed within that has really helped us, because when we decided to go ahead and build a platform, we've kind of we've gotten a hold of the deaf team members to really take a broad experience or look at this, who build this platform around culture, language, and experience for deaf community members. And so it's a really amazing platform, and it's really simple and easy to use. It's deaf friendly. And I know a lot of hearing people say, well, what's deaf friendly? Well, deaf friendly is so easy to use, there's no struggle with when a deaf person makes a call. That's how we've built the platform.
And what I'll say is, when you say what's the solution, to summarize it, it's a video platform. So if businesses think they can have a button right on their website, our customers have it on their contact us page or their accessibility page, and it's a button that says sign language support, or it has someone signing. It's very obvious the audience that it's meant for. So they might have contact us English, chat, contact us in Espanol, and then contact us American Sign Language support. And so when a caller sees that and says, wait, that's for me, and they press the button, the technology comes in, a video pops up. So it's a video platform. And then who answers the call? Deaf trained customer support reps. So the turnkey solution is that we have the technology, and if a company already had deaf employees, they could just use the technology. And the features Craig was talking about are amazing. You can leave video messages in sign language, you can schedule a call, lots of features. But the turnkey solution is also having trained staff of deaf representatives, which is creating jobs for a community that has a 70% under or unemployment rating. So it's just completely disrupting the market that we saw TTY happen to VRS and VRS happen to now.
So it seems really intuitive that this is meaningful, it's empowering, and it makes a lot of sense. So why then don't every company have a solution that's helping people who can't hear?
So that's a great question. And I will say that Video Relay Service is funded by the FCC, Federal FCC Commission in Washington, D.C. So a lot of companies think that, hey, that's free. So why should we set this up? Video relay service works and chat works just fine. Then what they're not realizing is that you are paying for your English speaking reps to receive a video relay service call, and a call time on average is probably 30 to 40 minutes for one call for a dialogue and an interaction with one deaf person through relay. For a deaf person to a deaf person, that number is cut in 42%, which is cost saving. And that's huge. That's hugely impactful. We've worked with a company in the past, and they were thinking about, piloting this. So they had used their accessibility budget to try to pilot this for 6 months. And then from that 6 months, they were shocked at the results. They saw 3,000 to 4,000 calls per month, and they saw cost savings of 42%. So their English speaking reps are less frustrated. They don't have to deal with, giving the information to a third party. They have the right information from a deaf person to a deaf person. So that's why a lot of companies they're not aware of it and they're not doing it. They don't see what the impact is from the cost perspective or from the untapped market perspective. And they don't realize that chat is not the native primary language for deaf community members. So I hope that helps you.
How is AI changing the landscape for people who can't hear the same way? Is that challenging or better? Both and either or?
Well, so it is both. We have a grant that we've received the past 6 months for sign language recognition use of AI and the development of using avatars. And in that's perfect for pre-call, for fast query and answers, or the use of AI supporting the deaf rep in their call to capture information like credit card numbers, phone numbers, addresses. The AI is able to capture the signing and save time for the rep to interact with the customer. We've also developed some really cool AI features that support the hard of hearing community who don't know sign language, which means that they can look and read the lips and see the language at the same time with AI. And it's not only that, but it's also post-call surveys. So we're doing surveys using AI to recognize, is this a good experience, a so-so experience, or a poor experience? And to be able to capture that. We want to make sure that there's quality assurance for our customers.
And I'll say where AI has hindered is often in the current solutions of relay and chatbots. So when we're talking about chatbots and English being a second or third language for many within the deaf community, they have to be bilingual to be able to navigate these. And I know even as an English speaker how hard and frustrated I sometimes get with chatbots, and it is my native language. And I'm just asking for, as in your presentation today, human, representative, give me a live person. But when Craig's on a relay call and AI is answering those calls, oftentimes there's a timeout period. You only have so much time to press or respond to the next prompt. Well, during an interpreted call, and we have a fluent sign language interpreter here who's already familiar with our company. So imagine that relay service he was talking about. That's using interpreters who know nothing about the companies they're calling. They don't know him as a customer. They don't know the brand they're calling. They're doing the best they can. My sister's an interpreter. My mom's an interpreter. It's been a good solution, but this is a better solution. Mm-hmm. And so when those prompts expire because of the interpreted delay, it starts you back at the beginning. So imagine just being looped over and over in a menu tree because of the delay during that interpretation time, or ending up into the wrong part of a menu tree because you pressed a button after the second prompt, led you. AI can really work against this community when it's designed for hearing people.
We're in a very tough economic and especially political environment. A lot of programs have been cut that focus on inclusion as one of the letters. Has that impacted your ability to make progress? And do you find that companies are still purpose-driven, that they're still moving forward and wanting to make a difference, even though the political environment is making it harder?
Well, I'll pass it to you, but I will answer this. I was on a panel last week about this topic, and oftentimes people are thinking this is such a good thing to do. It's just so good. You know, yes, it served the deaf community, and they're ignoring the business benefits of it. So when we're less about just being inclusive and more about legal, you can avoid a lot of lawsuits. There have been lawsuits against major companies for relay calls being disconnected, not being handled appropriately. So, you know, be risk averse, but also how it's handling those groups on an accessible level, not just an inclusive or diverse level. And so when you think of accessibility, there's a lot of laws protecting an accessible group. It's not just another language. And this is a disability group. And there's laws like the European Accessibility Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Canada's enacted a law for accessibility. So businesses are kind of being forced of what are you doing to make sure that things are equitable? And on a business sense side, it makes a lot of sense because as Craig mentioned, when you're dropping average handle times by 42%, when you're having one call resolution, when you're actually tracking how much recovery you're doing to make it right when CX went wrong over and over and over again on these calls, this current way of serving your deaf consumers is costing businesses millions across the board. And so when you say, hey, I'm paying an English agent and it's a not great experience, I could swap them and have this video platform, a button on our website, and I can, or a phone call, we can register the numbers, and I can replace it with a deaf person. You're still spending the money. You're just now giving a superior customer experience, and you're eradicating all of the problems that came with that relay call or that chat call.
So I do also want to mention that while DEI is important work, you know, within our community, within the current political climate, we've noticed, you know, with the decline of all of that, and it's all kind of fallen under DEI. With the reduction of DEI, it's kind of coming out and standing alone. So some of the companies have been changing their priorities, and we're seeing a lot of movement with accessibility, and they're both really important work. We're seeing a little bit of a shift, and we've seen a lot of motivation within the last 6 months. We're not sure what we're going to see in 2026. I hope that helps you kind of envision what lies ahead here.
Well, I also believe that while the words DEI, I sigh, that sigh is really more of actually semantics. That the purpose of people being valued and feeling belonging, that emotion is not going away. It's what we're calling it, so the words are changing. I don't believe in my heart that what's behind it is going to go away, and that's what makes this conversation so important. And I want people, because there's a lot of listeners who have their own opinion about diversity, equity, inclusion, and so on. But I want to take that away because that's not what this is about. This is about care. This is about the right experiences for whoever and however your customer shows up and that interaction, and personally and professionally. And I want to just make sure that's very clear because this show is not political in any way. But it's important to address that the basic foundation, that is important, that will not go away. And I'm curious.
Agreed.
I'm curious from your personal experience, which fueled your business model, what's it like having kids who can't hear in the same way that I can?
So in the home, it's great. It's great because ASL is the primary language, the native language in our home. So we're all on an even playing field. We're all signing, so there's no problem at home. But when we go out in the world, it's different. I see some challenges that my kids have had in public schools. Whether, we go to a fast food restaurant, you go to a mall, a shopping mall, your daily living. I see some challenges with trying to communicate because the world is ignorant. We haven't created a place that is equivalency for everybody. But raising kids for me has been great. My kids are fortunate. They're all on the same level playing field in terms of education because of using sign language as a primary language in the house.
Bringing this back to customer support, and I don't have a deaf child, but I've been around and in the community for years. I've also seen where his hearing children have been the focus of customer service instead of the parent or the adult that's deaf. So we've been at restaurants where some of the children are hearing, some are deaf, Craig's deaf, and the server will bring the check and hand it to the hearing child, who's 11, I think? 11 years old?
No, that's not a joke. That's a real thing. That's become a problem. And I always kind of laugh that off in the situation. I tell them, hey, my daughter, hey, are you paying the bill? Hey, thanks for paying the bill for us.
But when we're talking about doing CX right, it happens. And if I had not been around it and we hadn't traveled so frequently together, I would never have realized how customer service, both in remote environments when you're contacting the business or in person, are so different between my experience and Craig's.
And I will say that I interact with some couples who have hearing, spouses or deaf spouses. And oftentimes what I'm seeing is a deaf person will say to the hearing spouse, hey, can you take care of this for me? And so the hearing spouse has to do the phone calls. And I see that a lot. It's very common. But a recent situation, I think a couple of years ago, there was a deaf lady, her husband had passed away, and she got a customer service. She had to make a call to a customer service to resolve one of the bills. And when she had called, and she was able to solve the bill issue within 15 minutes because of the deaf-to-deaf contact. She didn't know about the charges because her husband had taken care of everything for the last 10 years. So the husband had done everything, but now he wasn't around. So that's just one little snippet of...
She was crying. She was
definitely tearful. It was like finally, a dream come true to talk with somebody in her native language. Who had that ability, that cultural awareness.
There's a word you said that's standing out in my head: ignorance. So I think that ignorance is something that people do have, whether it's because they don't. Why are people ignorant? I actually can't even explain it.
We're not exposed. And I'll tell you, I ran a sign language interpreting agency for 18 years. And it was great, and it made a lot of impact, and it did a lot of good. But I never realized what a deaf person's journey through a customer experience solution was looking like. I never knew what it would be like at the front desk of a hotel, or on an airplane, or calling to file an insurance claim, which took him 7 hours to file an insurance claim. It's horrific, and I didn't know until I knew. And then when I was around it, I'm like, we could do so much better, and it made it very easy to decide to co-found this company together, because this is the future. It's innovative now, it's exciting now, video platform, sign language, deaf-to-deaf support. It makes sense in every sense of the word. It makes sense for the businesses, sense for the customer, and winning these customers back or over. It makes sense in every aspect of the word. It's just not known yet. And so when people are ignorant, it's just because they don't know. And so wonderful podcasters like you and people who are in the know that see this and it resonates with you are bringing this to the world. It will be known and it will become the norm, and equitable experiences will start to happen.
So I want to bring more intentionality to this. CX professionals like myself, we are out there journey mapping with clients. And so I think the opportunity is for us to, on purpose, when we design how a customer learns, buys, get, use, pay, and get help. And clearly get help is an area you're focused on. We need to overlay the experience for different personas and not leave out certain communities that are, whether because of ignorant or because of just not thinking about it or whatever reason, but the intentionality is something that I plan to do, to ask the questions. What you've designed as an experience today, is that taking care of various people? And I think that we have an opportunity to be diligent and not only design the experience the way we think you want it. Don't stop there. We have to go validate it, because what I think doesn't matter. It's taking the experience and saying to someone like yourself, does this meet your needs? How you learn, buy, get, use, pay, get help, is that what we've designed here actually helpful? And if not, close the gap. And it's that iterative process. Do you agree? And anything more to that?
No, I definitely totally agree. A lot of people underestimate the size of the deaf community. So there are 240 different sign languages all over the world. 240. And there are 70 million deaf people worldwide. Our company currently, we support 7 different sign languages all over the globe, and we are still expanding with a goal to make sure that the world is fully accessible. In the United States alone, they process 65 million minutes a month through Relay alone. So the market is there, but it's untapped. And people just don't realize that it's there. And I think companies that are starting to get involved will see the impact. It doesn't only reach that untapped market, but it also, they will have that sphere of influence to their friends, to their family, to that deaf person. And there's already research that shows $30 trillion buy-in power within that community, plus friends and family. So I think it's really important to be, aware of the opportunity. It's there.
Yeah, especially when buyers have so much choice. We have a choice of who's our cell phone provider. We have a choice of what store we go to. We have a choice of where we're spending our money. I can guarantee you, companies that are taking, as you say, taking care of or just meeting the needs, the accessible, equitable needs of these underserved communities are going to win back customers. They're going to win new customers. They're going to benefit. I pay attention to it. I'm very intentional with where I spend my money. There was a company that did a natural beauty campaign, which I really loved. I was like, wow, that's great. You're bringing real people in and not everything airbrush. And I bought those products, I switched. And so I feel like we, as our generations, are very intentional with where we're spending our money, where it's going. And I think businesses that are offering equitable experiences to underserved communities that are often overlooked are winning a lot more customers.
As we come down to the end, a few last questions. Leadership. What's the best leadership advice you've received or given?
We'll get Craig first while I think about it.
Be bold. Don't be afraid to try something new. And I think, really the important thing is be more empathetic, more understanding of what people are walking through, how to understand and run a company and lead. So I think be more empathetic and bold.
I would say I learned a lot in leading this company. Don't build for us without us. And you kind of mentioned it earlier. Don't design something you think is going to resonate. We know companies that have designed things for this community, and it is completely rebelled against. I mean, the backlash, it ends up doing almost the opposite. And it's because they either had like, quote, a token individual on the team, but I'm the minority on my team. And I'm not the minority because I'm tan and because I'm a woman. I'm the minority because I'm one of the only hearing people. Our team is truly deaf-led. So nothing is built or designed by our company for the deaf community, except through the deaf community. And so I don't have a lot of input in those meetings because it's not my lived experience. So as a leader, I have to take a step back and recognize this is not my lived experience, and therefore, while I can lead in other parts of the company, I can't lead the design. I can't lead how it's going to be most effective, how it's going to bring the most customers to a company. So my leadership style in those situations is to take a step back.
And last, if you could go back in time to your younger 20-year-old self, based on what you know now that you didn't know then, what would you tell younger you?
It's okay. I mean, my goodness, I've always been so concerned about like stable, like have a salary job, have the 401k, have the benefits, have all these things in place. When Craig's talking about being bold, 40-year-old me was able to leave a corporate job, leave a stable salary, leave this, and know when you're doing the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, you will have success. And so we left this in our 40s, and we're able to do these things. But man, if I could have done it in my 20s, we'd already have this technology built, and we would have been, meeting with you a while ago. So younger me would have just been, wow, I wish I could have started the impact that we're making earlier.
But that it's also never too late.
That's true. That's very true.
Right, and I think it's really important to not be afraid to take a risk. Because like Vanessa had mentioned, like when I was in my 20s, I wanted that stability. But now, knowing what I know now and going over again, I would just take risks. Big risks equal big rewards. And I think it would be a lot different now, than it would have been then.
And big impact.
Big impact for sure.
Oh, I got chills. Well, thank you for being here with me, for sharing your story with me, with us. And it's important. And so I'm excited for the world to hear more about what you're doing, what you're providing, and the community at large. And I can't wait to share more about you. And in the show notes, we'll include ways to get in touch with you. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.